Alexander the Great, the man who never lost a battle, the guy who toppled the Persian Empire, the so-called son of Zeus, is standing at the edge of the known world. Behind him, Greece, Persia, Egypt, and Central Asia. Ahead of him, India, a land of endless rivers, thick jungles, exotic beasts, and kingdoms so massive they made even his toughest general sweat. Alexander wasn't satisfied with being great. He wanted all of it, the edge of the earth, maybe even whatever lay beyond. And so, with his army that had followed him for nearly a decade, he marched east into the Indian subcontinent. At first, things went surprisingly well. When he crossed the Indus River, he faced some local resistance but crushed it like he always did. The real test came at the Battle of the Hydaspes River. Opposing him was King Porus of the Parava Kingdom, a tall, intimidating ruler who rode into battle on the back of a giant war elephant. Now, imagine being a Macedonian soldier at that moment. You fought Persians, Scythians, Bactrians, but never an army with elephants. To them, these beasts were like living tanks, gray, trumpeting, unstoppable. And yet, Alexander pulled off one of his classic tricks. He used feints, diversions, and a daring river crossing to outmaneuver Porus. The battle was brutal. Men were trampled, cavalry scattered, and the sky filled with arrows. But in the end, Alexander won. And here's the twist. Instead of humiliating Porus, Alexander actually admired him. When asked how he wished to be treated, Porus supposedly replied, "Like a king." Alexander, impressed, not only spared him but made him an ally. So far, so good. India seemed conquerable. But then came the cracks. The monsoon rains turned the land into mud. The rivers swelled, dangerous and unpredictable. Tropical diseases began to spread, and word reached Alexander about the Nanda Empire further east, with an army said to number 200,000 soldiers and thousands of elephants. Even the most battle-hardened Macedonians, who had followed him through deserts, mountains, and endless wars, began to panic. Finally, at the Hydaspes River, what we call the Bees River today, the army reached its breaking point. Alexander called for another march east. His generals looked at him, his soldiers refused. They were tired, homesick, and terrified of facing an empire even bigger than Persia. Alexander tried everything. He begged, he argued, he sulked in his tent for 3 days like a king-sized toddler. But nothing worked. His men simply said, "No. We're going home." And that was it. The man who never lost a battle was defeated. Not by an enemy, but by the will of his own exhausted army. Alexander turned back, sailing down the Indus River, leaving only garrisons and loyal client kings behind. His dream of conquering all of India ended right there, on the banks of the Hydaspes. So, did Alexander fail? Well, he won every fight he fought in India. He secured allies, left behind a foothold, and carved his name into history, but the subcontinent itself? It remained unconquered, too vast, too populated, and too resilient. In the end, Alexander didn't lose to the Indians. He lost to reality. To mud, monsoons, elephants, and men who had finally had enough, and maybe that's the lesson. Even the great have limits.